All right, today we're talking about another Hammond collection figure, of course, as you could see by the title of the video. This is the juvenile T-Rex. Boom. We had this before in the Amber collection, and it was a garish bright green. This new one, nicely dimmer, more realistic colors. So that's fantastic. I see no reason why this won't be a great improvement on the original figure. Comes again with the little belt muzzle and the bandage for the leg, which has this little like snap on the back so that you can wrap it around the limb. Both of those accessories were things we had on the original. There's the little guy doing some jazz hands. All right, so first things first, some loose ass joints on this figure. These arms are fairly loose. Not the end of the world technically, but not the best. Fingernails are unpainted. It's just straight up the green plastic of the figure there. Oops, this way. Yeah, there you go. Toenails are painted. Dew claws are non-existent, seemingly. Of course, like most Hammond collection figures, it's got a good amount of articulation. Can always be a little difficult trying to figure out sometimes how to get it to stand properly with the amount of articulation you're given. Where did I put the tail? There it is. Tail is painted about halfway down the length, and then the end of it is just completely unpainted. A pretty common complaint with Mattel figures in general. Tail doesn't look like it has any particular orientation, although mine's being kind of weird on me. Well, let's just get it in there. There we go. Let's see. We've got kind of some damage here to the tail. Right where the hard plastic and the soft tail connect together, there's like a chip. It kind of looks like it looks all the world like it was slightly smashed or something, or like there was a mixing issue in the plastic or something. Maybe I don't know. So yeah, so far quality has been notably worse than some of the other recent figures we've opened up. So that's never great. Loose joints, and then the weird quirk of the plastic there. Getting a good pose for him for standing is kind of weird too. He's a little unbalanced. Yeah, that's it's not the best. I might have to do something with him like really pushing forward on legs. But the way the joints are, it's not going to be very stable in general. Okay, there we go. I got him to balance like this at least, more or less. Not the most natural of poses, but it works. Yeah, not winning my heart here. This figure exactly. A lot of little quirks that aren't the best. Mouth does open. The neck does have like some paint on the underside, but the fact that there's only like 2 stripes is kind of weird. Because like if you put it down more laterally, you end up with this like big gap in the paint scheme, which is a little weird. So you kind of got to put it up, which I think is kind of how he holds his head in the movie a bit, but it's not my favorite. I feel like the back of the skull here is really weird too. It comes off like very like thick to this middle joint here, and then this part is much thinner comparatively. It feels like it makes it feel like he's got well, it makes him feel like he's a toy, you know? No, I don't like the head sculpt at all. This it's interesting, like the little stego. Um, I was like, I really don't care about this baby stego. The pre-sale images look kind of shit. And then I got my hands on it, took it out of the package. I'm like, you know what? Not bad. And then the Rex, I thought I was gonna be like, yeah, it's fine. It's a nice little Rex figure. But just looking at him out of the package, has dropped my opinions of him a little bit, I think. I mean, it's not like awful by any means, but it doesn't help that the figure I have is seemingly slightly damaged. The joints are a little loosey goosey, and yeah. Like, yeah, not awful, but let's compare to some shots. So, Lost World, looking at the Rex, the infant. It's really hard to get a good sense of his color scheme in the film. He is green. He does have stripes. And you can see that he does have some like pink highlights, kind of like under the neck, which the figure has here under the neck, and in like the eye socket. So at least in general terms, the color scheme's pretty good. At least broadly. It's again like a lot of the scenes are dark enough that this thing could be a fairly decent range of colors and still look fairly accurate to the screen, as long as it's not the garish pink and green monstrosity we had previously. That is in D tier. Proportions wise, well, one thing to talk about in proportions is human figures. Maybe I'll steal Alan Grant up here. Oh, whoop. Knocking shit off the shelves. It's fine. It's just a Mosaurus. So if you look at the nice little shot here of Nick Van Owen holding the baby Rex, and you look at the size comparison of the figure with a human from the same line, I think the baby's a little big. Maybe twice the size of what it ought to be, kinda. Like, certainly one person would be able to lug this guy around like they do in the movie. Yeah, because like a hand should basically a figure's hand should be like, Grant, give me your hand for comparison here, bud. Well, that backpack doesn't make you move very well. Well, yeah, the hand should be kind of like the size of the torso, and it's nowhere near. And then yeah, the human head should be about the size of the infant's head, nowhere near again. So the infant's like very overscaled. So if you're looking for film accuracy in terms of scale, you're not getting it. But if it was made smaller, then like what would they do with that, right? It's already the smallest figure size in the line, so that wouldn't work anyway. So I get it. I get scaling it up. So if we ignore the size issue, proportions wise, the proportions look pretty good. Just like comparing it to the image, like the length of the head to the neck to like the size of the arms and torso length are all pretty solid. Even the tail length is pretty good. I'm just holding it myself up to my monitor to compare to the image. But like if you pause the video, cut and paste, the tail length compared to the body and head is pretty damn good actually. And he's already falling over and not standing. Fantastic sign. There's another little shot, just like a nice kind of close-up shot where you can actually kind of see his color palette a bit. So you can see that he does have like a green body with like darker green stripes. So that's pretty accurate, more or less. So there's that. You get a lot better looks at this guy in behind the scenes images. However, the problem is always telling if these are maquette images, which aren't necessarily the film design because they're pre-production basically, or if they're images that are actually of the like animatronics used, right? And so often, especially for films after the first one, I don't know, right? I don't know if this is a maquette or an actually used piece. This image here, you can definitely see a lot of the pink under the neck and in the eye sockets, which is, you know, present on this figure, present on the amber version as well, to like much greater and unpleasant degrees. I'd say his body. I think he's maybe a bit fat in the hips, but again, toys, right? They still got to be able to connect the legs up properly, so you have to make some concessions at least for that. Here's another little like behind the scenes type shot. This one I am more inclined to believe is the animatronic at least, because these are like stage shots showing a lot of different in scale creatures. There's like raptors and compies and all sorts of stuff in these Lost World shots. They're pretty cool. They're definitely just production images, of course. They're not actually from the film, but yeah. And yeah, that's a good look at like the striping. I would say the striping going down into the thigh on the figure is probably inaccurate, judging by this image. Um, but it's not like wildly inaccurate, and it makes the figure probably look a little bit better having that color go down further. Um, yeah, and that's kind of an image that makes it look like it's got a little more pink underneath, whereas this got more of a cream colored belly than like a pinkish belly. So there's that. What else do we got? Yeah, here's a nice like close up, um, which kind of shows you the pink of the eye socket a bit. The eye looks like it should be yellow, whereas this figure, like, it all looks like it's kind of just a glob of pink. Is it gonna focus at all? This is not a good camera for like showing figures. This is all side content, right? But yeah, he looks like he's got a bad case of pink eye, not just in terms of like the eye socket color, which is accurate, but the color of the eye inside of the eye socket also just appears very pink. Um, Scale of the teeth seems fine. I mean, the shape of the head seems pretty good, like with the nose there and everything. But yeah. And there's another shot. This particular image makes him look a lot greener than he does in most of the other shots. Like comparing this one and this one and stuff. He's definitely green, but it's a very earthy green, whereas this one's much more of a green that's verging closer to like the JP3 Adult Rex, which is not this guy, by the way. Um, but yeah, I think the color palette is pretty good for a figure. And there's like a really nice shot of the head. Um, Again, don't know if it's the maquette or the animatronic. But a lot of the design stays the same there. You can see the pink eye socket with the yellow eye. This image especially does make it look like the lower jaw is more of a cream color versus the darker green on the top more. So that's kind of captured there. It definitely shows you how like the back of the skull should really not extend out this far on the neck. Like the neck kind of drops down much quicker than it does on the figure, which is, you know, articulation things, right? Um, and it wouldn't look so bad if you could make it straight without it looking awkward too, but like making the neck straight is also not really viable. And it makes the paint job look really awkward, so there's like no way to really win quite with it. No matter what you do, it looks like you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of the Megatron Beast Wars Transformer, where his head is a T-Rex head, or his hand is a T-Rex head. Because it really looks like you got like a forearm and then a lower arm here. Like it really looks like an arm for a head. More than like the Raptors did, which had the same style of neck. And he just fell over again because of course his balance is dog shit. All right. Well, I think that's yeah, all my other images. Oh no, this is slightly fucked. Hold on. Uh, cut, paste, the new layer. There we go. We've re-separated out the little image for the tier ranking. So yeah, I think out of the two, I like the Stego better, and that is astounding to me. I would never have ever guessed that was how this was gonna knock out. Um, but here we are. This is the world we live in, I guess. Um, so I put this Stego in the middle of B. Yeah, I don't know, man. The single thing that bothers me the most is that neck. The way the neck comes out of the back of the skull and connects to the armature of the neck that looks like an arm. It's not doing it for me. The balance is whack. The quality control is not there, which is dodgy in general. I think this is a C tier. I think he's oops, I need to grab this. I think he's getting downgraded here. Here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking he goes in C tier after the male raptor figure. Because I think the male raptor works a little bit better than this guy does. Like, especially in the head and neck sculpt. For the raptor, I think it looks a lot better. You know what it is? It's because the raptor has more like a direct curve down behind the head. Like, yeah, I don't wanna pull him out because he's like tucked behind a bunch of stuff, but he's got a much better shape with the way his head connects to his body. This definitely belongs behind the raptor. The new raptors, the JP3 raptors. Or the male JP3 raptor. The female is awful, but it's probably better than the original raptor, which is definitely a little more questionable, a little more problematic. Of course, the feet on the new on the baby Rex are better proportioned than the raptor's feet, but the feet are like the last thing I see when it's sitting on a shelf, and the head is the thing I'm going to see much more of. So I'd rather have everything else in the figure good and have the feet be a little bad than have the feet be good and the rest of the figure not be, maybe the best. Um, so yeah, I think that's where he ranks. I think it's a C tier. It's definitely behind the Stego. It's behind the JB3 Raptor. I think that's correct. Um, I did not expect that to be a C tier, even in the box. Looking at it, but it's like seeing him out, holding him in your hand, and then it's like, I don't know, man. I don't know about this guy. Well, I ended up talking about that much longer than I intended to. That's a theme for this series for sure. So what's next? We got a Carnotaurus coming out next year. I think we can go ahead and assume that's going to be S tier unless something goes horribly wrong because it looks fucking awesome. We got a Dimetrodon coming. I don't know what else there is that's been announced. Might be just those two. And I think we don't have anything coming up soon either. I think the Dimetrodon's a little ways out. I might be forgetting. There might be something else. But it should be cool. The Carno is like a new tier of figure too. He's bigger than the other theropods, but not as big as the Rex. So that's going to be pretty awesome as well. Although he probably should be in scale with like Baryonyx and shit if he was, a realistically proportioned Carnotaurus, but whatever.